you mind introducing yourself?
Hi, I'm Ramona, originally from Germany, having lived a long time in the Netherlands, and now I'm not stranded in Greece. I've decided to come to Greece to do projects with people that have come here by force, not as me. And before, my past path was leading me to playing a role in agriculture, and I've studied rural sociology.
Where'd you study?
In the Netherlands.
Oh, okay. So you said that you're doing a project, so you came here to help people. To me before, do you mind explaining the type of stuff you're doing?
Well, I came here last year with a cooking project that ended up being at some point the only warm food provider in EUmanity, in this huge refugee camp. However, there was a need for information, so we set up an information project, and for 3 months we, like me and other people that set it up and people that came into the project, were trying to give people information about asylum, as it was the time that the Balkan route has just been blocked, and people came there thinking they can just go through traveling to Germany, and then we were stranded in Greece, and we tried to find out the information they needed. However, I went back to Belgium working, wanting to come back to work with minors, because what really troubled my heart were the 15-year-old kids that are not allowed to have a normal teenage time, but they have to survive on their own, trying to do this Balkan route. And in the end, actually, I came back to Greece doing a marmalade project.
Yeah, I think
in order to have political influence, and I can explain what this is later.
I think actually on that note, you called it marmalade with a message. So,
yeah.
Do you mind expanding on that?
Yeah, indeed. So one of my big passions is agriculture, and another thing is trying to use common pool resources. So I've come here to Athens, and you can pick a lot of things up at the streets. Greece is in crisis, but yeah, a lot of people are not in crisis, and also the trees survive the pollution here. So you have a lot of bitter oranges, and what I was doing now was going out with people, collecting those bitter oranges, making marmalade. Now we have done that, and the next step is sending this marmalade with labels with an etiquette to Western Europe. The etiquette says information about the new asylum laws that the European Union is trying to set in place, and which will make the life of people that come as refugees much, much worse. Now the situation is bad and people are without papers, but the situation will be worse if these laws are not stopped.
So I'm assuming that you followed some of the current topics and news. Turkey had reached a deal with the European Union last year to stem the tide of refugees moving through, and I think they were funded by about $1 billion. Erdogan announced recently that the deal is no longer effective. What do you think is going to happen, and what are you seeing so far, or what have you seen?
I think I don't have a good long-term view. I just see that the common European Commission's proposals for all different kind of refugee laws are going in the direction of more of these kind of deals. The deal with Libya, and of trying to keep people out of Europe. So the new Dublin law they are planning, it has a big set of inadmissibility criteria. So if people come to Europe, firstly they are checked on different criteria, and they are tried to kicked out before they even can claim asylum, before they can ask for asylum. And if they come from a country that is not war-torn, they don't have a lot of time, only a couple of days, to prove that still they are in danger, their life is in danger in their home country, but probably their right, to show that, to prove that, will be taken from them.
So you said that if they come from countries that are not war-torn, do you notice any trends of what they're, aside from obviously war, what are they looking for? What are they trying to find or seeking, or what are they expecting or hoping to get to, and why?
Well, there's dictatorships everywhere, and there is people cannot make use of the human rights they should have. So many people that come there are personally in danger because of their like sexual interest, because of their religion, and I've been surprised what nationalities I've seen here, and the story of the people. And then of course there's countries where people cannot make a living because they have been exploited by Europe and other Western countries for so many years, and still. So actually there's like this economic warfare by the Western powers that is still exerted, and of course it's not acknowledged, and people are said to be economic refugees, but the truth is they're fleeing actually from an economic war.
So do you see a consistent pattern of economic warfare throughout Europe, as you put it? Or meaning, I'm sorry, not Europe, the Middle East. Are these people just looking for work? And what would happen if they had work where they lived?
It's probably not only for them, but the whole situation. As I said, it's probably not only work, but a kind of freedom. I mean, I've seen here people that have gone to prison for a sip of alcohol or whatever. It's just like basically not possible for them to live a good life. And then on the other hand, like people could be even indeed living under a dictatorship, but not. Yeah, there's too little possibilities.
So I guess last weekend I went on a hike with you, with a few refugees, or people, let's call them people for the sake of conversation. And I noticed that they were really excited, and you had told me that this is something that you're consistently trying to do. What's your idea about going on hikes with them, and why?
So the idea of getting people out of the places where they live to, for example, do city walks, gather oranges, and also to do hikes, is that, like me personally, I get really inspired and energized by doing that, and I know that other people do it as well. And people in this waiting situation, they don't have enough energy to stand up for themselves and for their like also physical health. And it actually works. Like I made, of course it doesn't work like you put up a poster, say, oh, we are having hikes, and people come at the time that you write on a poster. No, you're here, you get to know people, and of the acquaintances you make, there will be some people interested in what you're doing. So I made acquaintances, and I took like my new friends to a hike, and then I got these positive reactions, and people told me, actually, yes, it's the first time I'm getting out of downtown Athens. It gives me inspiration. Finally, I'm doing something physical again. And this is like the start of live again, because people are in a limbo situation. They're in a survival mode, and of course not thinking long term, and of course not like living at the moment. However, you need like these positive experiences to make your small decisions, because also in this limbo mode, still you can take your own fate again in your hands up to a certain extent. Yeah.
Why are you doing all of this?
I think I cannot live in Europe if I don't try to change something on this situation. Like my personal interest always has been, like I'm an environmentalist, let's say, but I cannot. And then I've worked in a small organization that is fighting against the social and environmental consequences of large-scale mining. That is actually bringing the two together, like large-scale mining and the greed of our consumerist society for those metals, and like just kicking out people out of their kind of sustainable way of living. And however, thinking of like kind of settling in a way in an agricultural community in Europe, having this as a vision, I cannot work on this at the moment, when at the same time in Europe, the Europe that I thought that is respecting human rights actually is going into a direction that is very right-wing, and where people are just left to die and So if I want to live in Europe somewhere in the future, I at this moment I have to try to fight for a kind of more democratic or just let's say just system. So I'm trying to do my thing, and I don't know if it's the right level, but I figure out on my way, I guess, what I do next, like where to do the fight or the struggle. But until I turn back to agriculture, I think I have to still, well, I think it has to go together. If you want to live at a place, you have to try to make it a just place.
The name of the series is called Surviving Capitalism. What does that mean to you?
Well, capitalism is obviously something I want to overcome. Like I've taken steps in my life to not sustain that system. Perhaps like you use it a bit, but trying to create alternatives. So the farms I've worked in are biodynamic farms that do alternative modes of commercialization. Like a lot of my friends, they are living in communities or whatever. It's like I'm surrounded by the world that tries to overcome capitalism. However, this is quite an elitist world. It's doesn't matter if people have studied in university or not. In order to fight against capitalism, you somehow need to have had the chance to rethink, and had to have the chance to free your mind or have a good education or whatever. But it's a privilege, and this privilege gives you actually the not the need. I think because of this privilege, you have to use it, and I think people that are so-called refugees, they are also refugees in capitalism and off. They like refugees are caused by capitalism.
So you think capitalism has a role to play in some of these crises that we see, like for instance in Greece for an economic crisis?
Yes,
right?
yes.
So do you see a relationship between crisis and capitalism?
Yes, of course. Like crises are needed for capitalism is devouring crises and is causing them and needs them and profits from it. So it's all one.
If you had any advice to offer anyone around the world about anything, or you want to say anything to the world, what would it be?
Advice. Well, have a vision and work towards that vision. I mean, the other day I met a very nihilist person, and I was like, okay, he's that, but no, I want to change something, so I go for it. So everybody should do something and not believe that the status quo will be held, whatever. I mean, it's difficult to be still positive by all the stuff that is happening, but on the other hand, there's all the good stuff happening as well, and it gives again a little bit energy to go on. And then what else? Search for the mountains, they give you energy.
Good one. I have one last question. Given the state of everything that you've seen, crisis, some of the climate conditions that are occurring, do you have hope for the future?
I don't know. Yesterday I was sitting at a really paradise lost beach. Paradise lost because I was trying to pick the plastic out of the sand, and I looked smaller and smaller and smaller. So I saw that half of the beach was actually plastic, and that was like, okay, we're doomed as a humanity because because that was like, okay, it's such a paradise place, but we're all only eating plastic. We're actually killing ourselves, of course. And this is seen in the big picture as well, the big picture of climate change, not only the pollution thing. So, well, we can make the world a better place for the people that are living, and for the future, well, it will be difficult for humans, but I cannot look so much in the future. I think we can make it better, of course.